coach Yashika, the artist of dating, and I am your one-on-one coach. Today, we are talking about the 5 mistakes that we make when dating someone and they start to pull away from us. So, the reason why this is something that needs to be discussed, because in this world of dating, oftentimes everything will be going smoothly in the relationship in the very beginning. You know, you guys will have fun together, you'll go out together, you'll text one another, you'll do the late night phone calls and all those things, and all of a sudden stuff will start to slow down. And so you start to catastrophize and try to figure out what happened, what went wrong, what did I do differently? And then you all over the place with it. And so today I just wanted to talk about 5 mistakes that we make when we're dating someone and they start to pull away from us. Okay. Number 1, have a conversation. This is something that needs to happen first and foremost. Have a conversation with that person. Because if you start to assume, you start to make things up in your head. You start to thinking that maybe it was this, maybe it was that, when all along it could be none of those things, right? So the first thing you want to do is have a conversation. And if the person that you're dating decides that he or she doesn't want to have a conversation, then you definitely need to listen to the other mistakes, the 2, 3, and 4, and 5, because this all goes together. But the first thing you want to do is have a conversation with that person and be honest, ask the questions, and then allow them to explain or talk or give their viewpoint. And if they don't want to talk, then maybe you should just fall back a little bit and wait until they're ready to discuss some things, right? Because you never know. And that brings us to number 2. Don't always take it personal. Listen, life happens. In this world, life happens, right? Sometimes you could be in a relationship with someone or dating someone, and you don't know everything about that person, especially if you are in the beginning stages of the relationship. It may be a specific date that came around that person may have lost a loved one, or they may have went through something, on a particular day. So around the time that they start to be silent or not be as active in a relationship, they may actually be reliving or thinking about the fact that this particular date is approaching, okay? Or they may be going through their own battles. Sometimes people suffer in silence. Sometimes people don't want to always tell a person what they're going through. Maybe they don't want to be judged. Maybe they're not ready to talk about it. Maybe they're not comfortable talking about it. Maybe the relationship is too new and they feel like you guys are not in that space yet. So you cannot always take it personal, because sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it could just be them. They're going through their own thing and they're suffering in their own way, and you have to let them get themselves out of that rut that they're in. And that takes us to number 3. If space is needed for that individual, give them that space. Don't try to force yourself into it, right? Don't try to force yourself in there. Hey, talk to me. Why aren't you talking to me? Because all that's going to do is build up a level of resentment towards that person. And if that person is going through some things, it's going to push them further away from you, because they need that space. They need that time to think about what they're doing. They need all that. So when you're forcing yourself into something, then, that's not good, right? So you want to actually give them their space that's needed, and then sit back and once everything seems to change or starts to get back on the up and up, then you can regroup, right? Once you regroup, you can go into number 4, which is assess the situation, assess the relationship. If you've already done 1 through 3, which is have a conversation, not taking it personal and giving that person space, and then now you're at the point where, okay, something's still not right, you might need to reassess the situation or the relationship. Because if you really are truly honest about yourself, you have to ask yourself the questions: was this really something that we were working towards? Was this really a relationship? Because sometimes we will try to take a round peg and force it into a square hole. And that's not always the case. That person may have told you from the very beginning that he or she may not have been wanting a relationship, or they're not ready for a relationship, or they were just having fun, right? Whereas that you were working towards a relationship because you thought you could help them change their mind, right? In your process, right? When in actuality, they're looking at it like, hey, you know what? This is going too fast. This is not what I wanted. And I'm going to have to take a step back. So while you're up here trying to figure out what's wrong with them, what they're really doing is being true to what they told you in the beginning, that they weren't really ready. So when you're at number 4, you reassess the situation. If you know you've done 1 through 3 and you're at number 4, think about these things. But who knows? Like I said, it may not be you. It could just simply be that person is just going through some things. But also in the number 4 step, while you are reassessing the relationship, think about something that may have happened. If you know for sure that there was something that happened and you could put a pinpoint on it, and apology is needed from you, then you make sure you reach out to that person, apologize to them, okay? Because you never know. It may have been something that he or she can't get over, and you need to make sure that you've done your part, right? I'm not saying this is the case, but just in case it is the case, if you know for a fact that, everything was good, then don't worry about it. But if you feel like maybe you've said some things that may have hurt that person's feelings or made them reconsider, then you might need to take that step and apologize. And this is part of the number 4, which is reassessing the situation. And then we move into number 5. Never give them an ultimatum. Never give anyone an ultimatum. Because what you're pretty much telling them is, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do that, right? If you don't do that, then I'm going to do this. It's like taking a bone and wagging it in front of a dog and telling the dog that unless you jump up to get this bone, that you can't have it, right? That's not fair. Sometimes the dog don't want to jump. Sometimes the dog just wants the bone, right? Or whatever the treat is you're holding in front of them. So when you give a person an ultimatum, what will ultimately happen sometimes is that you will set your own self up for failure, because people don't like ultimatums. They don't want to feel like they've been strong-armed into something. And then moving forward, you don't want to be in a relationship anyway where you feel like you're trapping somebody or you're strong-arming a person into being with you. That's not a healthy relationship. That's a very toxic relationship. So you don't want to be that person, right? So never give someone an ultimatum, because that's just not cool. Okay. All right. So let's recap. Number 1, have a conversation first and foremost. That way you can get out of your own head. You can not catastrophize and start making stuff up in your head about what didn't happen when it could have been none of that. It could have just simply been number 2. Don't take it personally. That person is going through something and he or she just needs time for self. Plain and simple. Number 3, if space is needed, give it to that person. Once you give them that space, sit back while they're getting their space, you regroup. Now, during this time also, what I failed to mention earlier, there's nothing wrong with you sending a morning text or, hey, just checking on you, seeing how you do on text or something like that, right? Or maybe making that one phone call a day or something like that. But if that person's not reciprocating, they're not responding or anything like that, then fall back a little bit. Okay, because you don't want to force it. You don't want to make them, feel like, okay, they're being overcrowded, they're crowding me. Right. And if they're already going through some things already, they don't need that added stress. OK. And then number 4, reassess the situation, reassess the relationship. Is this really a relationship, or was it just something that person was doing and you misread the clues and then you didn't take what they said to you literally? Because sometimes we can do that. OK, we feel like because we went out with a person 5 or 6 times, we've had a good time with them, that we're in a relationship. No, you're not. If that person told you that they're just having fun and they just out there exploring their options, then take it as such. If it does not work for you, then move on. If you want something different than what they have to offer at that time, then move on. Because if you're trying to make them change their mind, all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure and heartaches. That's it. So don't do that. All right. And then number 5, never give a person an ultimatum. No one wants to feel like they're being backed into a corner, or no one wants to feel like you're wagging a treat in front of them like we do dogs with a bone, right? No one wants that. You don't want to strong arm someone into being in a relationship with you. All right, so I hope that these tips have helped you. And if you want to follow me on IG, I am Coach Yashika. You can check me out on Facebook as well, in The Art of Dating. And remember, if you are viewing me for the first time, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos and turn on that notification so that when I do post a video, you'll know. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.